The rain hammered down like 1,000 accusations, turning the Manhattan streets into slick mirrors of neon despair. Scarlett slammed her car door shut, the thud echoing her frustration. Damn it. Sienna. Why tonight, she muttered under her breath, gripping the steering wheel as her boss's voice crackled through the Bluetooth. Scarlett. I need you. My car's dead on Fifth Avenue. Please. The plea in Sienna's tone cut through the static. Raw and unfiltered, a vulnerability Scarlett had never heard from the Ice Queen executive who ruled their tech startup with an iron fist. That was the hook, the unbreakable Sienna breaking. And Scarlett, her loyal assistant, racing into the storm, unaware it would shatter everything she thought she knew about desire, secrets, and herself. By the time Scarlett pulled up, the downpour had soaked Sienna to the bone. She stood under a flickering street lamp, her tailored blazer clinging like a second skin, blonde hair plastered across her sharp cheekbones. At 35, Sienna was the epitome of corporate power, CEO of Nexus Innovations, a rising app development firm in Midtown. But tonight, her green eyes held shadows, not strategy. Get in, Scarlett said, leaning over to pop the passenger door. Sienna slid inside, the scent of wet wool and expensive perfume filling the car, mingling with the faint aroma of Scarlett's half-eaten takeout burger from lunch. A sigh escaped Sienna's lips, heavy with exhaustion. Thank you. I didn't know who else to call. Scarlett, 28 and fresh out of a messy breakup, had always seen Sienna as untouchable, a mentor, a taskmaster, but never human. Driving through the blurred city lights, she stole glances at her boss, noting the way Sienna's hands trembled slightly on her lap. Rough day? Scarlett asked, her voice softer than intended. Sienna chuckled bitterly, a sound like cracking glass. Rough life, kid. My ex-husband's lawyers are bleeding me dry in the divorce. And now this heap of junk car. The confession hung in the air, thick as the humidity outside. Scarlett's heart twisted. She'd heard rumors of Sienna's failed marriage. But this was intimate. Exposed. They arrived at Sienna's brownstone in the Upper East Side, the rain easing to a drizzle. Come in for a drink, Sienna insisted, her tone brooking no argument. Scarlett hesitated, the engine idling with a low hum. I should get home. But curiosity, and something deeper, a pull she couldn't name, won out. Inside, the apartment was a stark contrast to Sienna's polished office persona, warm wood floors, scattered books on queer theory and feminist icons, a half-finished painting of abstract swirls on an easel. The air smelled of lavender candles and fresh coffee. Sienna tossed Scarlett a towel, their fingers brushing, sending a spark up Scarlett's arm. Make yourself comfortable, Sienna said, disappearing into the bedroom. Scarlett wandered the living room, her sneakers squeaking on the hardwood. A photo on the mantel caught her eye, Sienna, younger, arm in arm with a woman at a pride parade, rainbow flags waving. Scarlett's breath hitched. She whispered to herself. Sienna re-emerged in dry sweats, her hair towel-dried into soft waves. Gay? Yeah. The marriage was a cover, family pressure, career facade. Sit. She poured 2 whiskeys, the amber liquid glinting under the lamp. They sat on the couch, knees almost touching. The storm outside rumbled like distant thunder in Scarlett's chest. As the night deepened, confessions flowed like the rain. Sienna spoke of her hidden life, stolen weekends with lovers, the ache of authenticity buried under boardroom bravado. I see you, Scarlett. The way you light up in meetings. Your ideas cutting through the bullshit. You're more than my assistant. Scarlett's cheeks burned, the whiskey warming her veins. She'd always admired Sienna, her confidence, her drive, but this was electric. I didn't know, Scarlett admitted, her voice cracking. About you. Or me. The words tumbled out, her own doubts. The college fling she dismissed as a phase, the loneliness gnawing at her since her boyfriend left. Sienna set her glass down with a soft clink, leaning closer. The air thickened with unspoken tension. What if we stopped pretending, she murmured, her breath warm against Scarlett's ear. Their lips met in a rush, hesitant at first, then fierce, tasting of salt and scotch. Scarlett's hands tangled in Sienna's hair, pulling her in, the world narrowing to the feel of skin, the sigh escaping Sienna's throat. It was kismet and chaos, 2 women unraveling years of restraint on a rainy night. But dawn brought reality crashing in. Scarlett woke tangled in sheets, Sienna's arm draped over her waist. The morning light filtered through curtains. Birds chirping outside like a mocking chorus. Panic surged. "This can't happen," Scarlett whispered, slipping out of bed. Sienna stirred, her eyes opening with confusion. "Scarlett? What's wrong?" The muffle of sheets rustling. The creak of the floor as Scarlett dressed. "You're my boss. This is complicated. What if it ruins everything?" Tears stung her eyes, the high of last night soured into fear. Sienna sat up, vulnerable in the daylight. "It doesn't have to. We could be real." The argument escalated in the kitchen, coffee brewing with a gurgle that underscored their words. "I've hidden too long," Sienna said, voice breaking. "I won't do it again." Scarlett paced, the tile cold under her feet. "And work? The team? I need this job." The conflict tore at them, passion versus professionalism. Heart versus head. Sienna's phone buzzed, a work email. Pulling her back to the facade. "Go. Then," she said. The words laced with pain. Scarlett fled, the door slamming like a finality. Weeks blurred into avoidance. Office meetings were tense, eyes averted, the air heavy with unsaid regrets. Scarlett buried herself in code, the click of her keyboard a barrier. But late nights. Memories haunted her, Sienna's laugh. The taste of her kiss. One evening, as thunder rolled again, Scarlett knocked on Sienna's office door. "I can't pretend anymore," she said, stepping inside. Sienna looked up, weary but hopeful. "Neither can I." They talked, raw, honest, about boundaries, therapy, coming out. Sienna resigned as CEO to start her own venture, freeing them from hierarchy's chains. Scarlett followed, not as subordinate, but partner. In a quiet cafe months later, under clear skies, they held hands openly. The rain had washed away illusions, revealing truths worth fighting for. Love, they learned, wasn't a storm to endure but a dawn to embrace, messy, real, and profoundly theirs.